ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Esoterica. Back now on a fortnightly podcast schedule, which is good. It's been nice
that was very.
It's been nice to have a week off.
BBC and official.
Good evening.
We are now on our fortnightly.
Yes. Welcome to your fortnightly Esoterica.
Yeah, so that's
tonight. I'm joined by Anthony Collier.
Now we need some canned music. And it's always really distorted and mono and
Today in the Empire.
Oh god. Rule Britannia.
Beer of the week. Let's crack right on into it. So beer of the week this week is Semiconductor Session IPA by 8 Wired, which is they brand it as being a relatively sort of hoppy, supercharged hoppy IPA.
The truth may shock you.
Yes. Stay tuned to the end of the podcast to find out. You'll never believe entry number 10.
Doctors hate it.
The things they don't want you to know.
Yeah.
These simple rules. Businessmen don't want you to know.
Yeah.
Multi-millionaires.
Although
I don't actually think it's that hoppy.
It's
not comparatively to other IPAs I've had.
I'm calling you out, 8 Wired. No, and it's not a bad thing. It's fine. It's not. I find it kind of odd how you guys kind of like hops. Yeah. It's not hoppy.
Good entry level IPA.
Yeah.
Like if you are like I think that's how I describe it. Like if you are kind of looking to get into craft beers and want to try some stuff that isn't too out there, I would say this is probably a good entry level IPA to kind of give you a bit of a taste for an IPA. Kind of go, ooh, is that something that I'm going to be into?
Yeah. Their bio literally says designed to knock your socks off while keeping your feet on the ground, which,
I've had much hoppier IPAs.
Absolutely, yeah.
In fact, pretty much every other IPA I've had has been much hoppier than this.
But I think that's the thing. They're sort of saying, knock your socks off while keeping your feet on the ground. So it's like, not too much, but just trying to keep your, nothing too extreme. It's like an agnostic of beers.
Yeah. I
can't decide what it wants to be.
We were sort of talking about what we were actually going to say about this. And I don't want to say... I don't want to say it's bland. It's not.
It's actually really nice.
It's not bad. It's nice, but it's one of those beers that doesn't sort of. It doesn't have any huge sort of identifying markers. You're not kind of like, oh my god, I could talk about this or I could talk about that.
There's nothing
offensive about it, but at the same time, there's nothing sort of like, oh my god, this is brilliant. Like it's kind of like if I had to describe it, I'd probably describe it as being like the Heineken of like what do you call it, craft beers. It's kind of like
just quite beige. I don't know.
Like if you were like, if somebody was coming over to your house and you're having a party for lots of people and you're putting beer on, you'd be quite happy putting something like Heineken on, because pretty much everybody's gonna people might not be like, Heineken's my favorite beer, but nobody's gonna kind of be like, I hate Heineken, I'm never going to drink it. Like,
they'll tolerate
it. They're going to be like, oh yeah, no, it's a sort of middle of the road kind of beer. This is kind of a middle of the road craft beer.
This beer is your friend that says they don't like to get into politics. Like they won't swing.
They won't swing.
They won't. They won't throw the keys in a bowl.
Yeah,
no, they won't. They
won't
go one way or another.
Yeah.
Like this is the friend that you can invite to a party that isn't going to embarrass you, but they're also not going to be that exciting.
Yeah.
But they're just there, they're reliable, and they're fun.
But
not too fun.
Yeah. Like, but it's a real low alcohol percentage for a craft beer. It's like 4.4%.
Is it really only 4.4?
4.4. So that's really low for a craft beer, because generally like craft beers average in and around sort of 5 to 6%. And can be, as I think you said in one of our other ones, like significantly more alcoholic than that. Like craft beer is like 8-9%
for the APAs.
Yeah, but at 4.4%, it's pretty much like any other beer.
It's like it's like I keep coming up with these ridiculous analogies. It's like your workmate who never stays for more than one beer.
Yeah,
on a Friday after work. It's so safe.
Yeah.
But hey, they stay behind, okay?
Yeah.
And you got to give them credit for that. They stay behind for a beer.
Yeah. So what are you gonna give? What are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna give this what it deserves, the most absolute middle of the road rating possible, and that is a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think it is perfectly average. I think it's not bad. I don't think it's.
I'm gonna go slightly better. I'll give it a 6. Like it's something that I drink, but like if you, in all honesty, if you were wandering down an aisle of craft beers, liking your craft beers, would you go, got to get that one?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No.
But again, as I said...
But it's not bad, though. I wouldn't go, like, no.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, if you're looking at getting into craft beers, you're unsure about it, try this out. This is really good. However, I am, just before we go on, for the first time ever, I'm going to give them a 2 out of 10 for their box. Their box is rubbish. Like, it's such thin cardboard that the whole box ripped as I was carrying the box to the car from the liquor store. So I nearly dropped all the beer everywhere. Because the box ripped.
I could give a whole podcast about how good packaging is for every beer type. It tends to be pretty poor. Guys, please hold your beer from the bottom of the box.
Yeah.
I've stress tested every beer packaging imaginable. It ain't great. It isn't good.
Well, this one was particularly bad.
Yeah. Please always hold beer boxes from the bottom.
I feel bad because it feels like we're ragging on 8 Wide, but I'm not ragging. We're
No,
not ragging.
I don't. No, I just.
It's a perfectly good beer.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so moving right along into what's on top this week, and
on top?
This is something that got to you a little bit this week, didn't it? You were a little bit sort of irritated
me a little
by
bit
this week.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about this week, Anthony?
So this week, it was actually my brother who linked this to me. He messaged I think our group about this, and he was quite riled up about it. So this was it was made sort of. It was recounted on stuff.
Yeah.
And so the discussion of eSports came up on Breakfast.
Yeah.
Which is a TV show that screens in the morning,
so
usually around breakfast time.
This was after the Fortnite tournament, wasn't it? Like,
it would have been.
I think a couple of New Zealanders did relatively well in the Fortnite tournament.
They did.
So yeah.
And so and it came to the point where they had discussed the news or said the news to the people watching the TV, and so it gave
that's a good breakdown of how breakfast works.
It then gave them an opening to share their own opinion about it.
Yes,
as good investigative journalists do.
Absolutely, here in New Zealand.
And and then Hilary Berry made some offhand comment about how eSports. Sorry.
Hilary Berry is not breakfast.
Sorry. I'm wrong here. I think it must be TV3.
7 Sharp.
Was it 7 Sharp?
7 Sharp. There you go.
All right, everyone. Well, pretend that the last 5 minutes of this podcast didn't happen.
But I mean, look, you can essentially
Sorry,
say
NZ media is so incestuous that I don't know where they are.
Like, you can legitimately say 7 Sharp is the breakfast TV of 7 o'clock.
It is.
Like,
it's
exactly
it's
the
just
same.
It's 7 p.m. instead of a.m.
Yeah,
like,
it's the same format, but at night. Yeah.
And so Hilary Berry talked about it, and she was obviously quite, disparaging about esports, and basically said that it's not a sport, because the conversation of esports at the Olympics came up.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that's been in discussion for a while, is that can esports legitimately be an Olympic event, or and Hilary Berry thought this was absolutely ridiculous, and that it's just silly, and that how could a video game or online video game be in any capacity an Olympic sport? And she basically said that, she did say that she wouldn't be. She asked Jeremy Wells, "Would you be proud of your kid if they won an Olympic medal in esports?" And Jeremy Wells, being the consistently great guy I think that he is, actually, he's one of my favourite people on TV, said yes, he would. Of course he would.
Yeah.
Be proud of his child
being one of the best
at something,
in the world.
Which not many people can claim to be. So, and also, I would just also like to add, imagine having a child, going through the labours and the trials and tribulations of having a child, and the heartbreak and the everything that there is to going with having a child. And the thing is, I've never had a child, and I haven't brought up a child, so I couldn't possibly imagine, except for our animals, Snowy and Stella, as you may know. But I cannot claim.
It's the most millennial thing you've said on this podcast.
Yeah. I cannot claim to have ever had children, but I know that if I had, and if my child did something, I don't know how insignificant or stupid, I would probably end up being proud of them. It wouldn't matter what it is. Probably somewhere in the cold, dark depths of my being, I would find somewhere to be proud of them. I find it really odd and quite callous and dark for someone to say they would not be proud of their own child for doing something or winning in some capacity.
But I think
find
okay,
that
so here's my take on it, right? Is that in terms of like this is a and I'm going to say again, weirdly enough, we come back to this. This is partly a generational thing, and it is partly a generational thing. Like whenever I explain to older people that we stream on Twitch, and we play a game, and they're like, "Oh, so did they play with you?" And you're like, "No." They watch us play a game, and they're like, "Wow, that's weird." And then I'm like,
get that, though.
And then I'm like,
get that.
No, but then I'm like, and then they pay us to watch that game, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a generational thing there with like, growing up and being like, you'll never make any money playing video games and stuff like that. And now you legitimately can make quite significant money playing video games.
Yeah.
In fact, there are people who make a hell of a lot of money playing video games, not developing games, not doing anything else like that, purely playing video games for other people's entertainment. If you want to look at the definition of sport, so the definition of sport is something that requires athletic ability and or skill.
Yeah.
Right? So I would argue that eSports deserves its moniker because there is a physical aspect to playing these games. There is a physical aspect, and again, I mean, we could go into lots of different types of games, but there is a physical aspect. There's a physiological effect from it. There is also a high level of skill. Now, anybody who hasn't played a video game will sit there and go, "Oh yeah, but it's just doing this." Yep. It's the equivalent of, I would argue, and I understand that this is a weird comparison to make because chess is not a sport. So, chess is a game that requires a high level of skill, but there's no physical aspect that goes along.
No,
with
you don't
chess.
need reflexes to play chess.
No, you don't. Which is the difference with esports. It's the reflexes that count as the physical activity.
Yeah.
Never mind the adrenaline, never mind anything else like that. It's the reflexes that are required. I would argue that if you have ever played a game where there are ranking leaderboards on anything that you do, there is a difference between people who are truly masters of the game and your average player. Like, and it is the difference between like a chess grandmaster and you dabbling around, with your dad on a Saturday night playing a game of chess. Like, or the All Blacks versus, your third 15 from, intermediate playing rugby. Yeah. There is a very big difference in skill level. A very, very big difference in skill level between these players. Now, if you want to go into specific games and say things like, okay, let's take League of Legends, for example, which really was one of the big things that started this whole esports thing.
Them and their beautiful community of
let's
open arms.
Let's park the horrific community. But, like, in order to win, you have to play as a team.
You do.
You can't... You can be the best player in the world, but you can't completely carry the rest of your team to victory.
No,
you have to. You might carry them to a round
as much as they say that.
Yeah, you might carry them to a round or whatever, but you're not going to carry them to victory. In the same way that David Beckham might, in the peak, or Ronaldo, or anybody at the peak
James
of
is
their
showing his age.
No, but anybody, absolutely.
Yeah,
but,
no, you're right though. No, you're right though. You're right.
Messi or anybody else like that.
You're right.
Or the Cristiano Ronaldo, like playing for
Juventus now.
Juventus or whatever. You can't. He can't carry the team to victory.
No, he can't. Yeah.
He may be like one of the greatest players of all time, but he still requires the team
100%
to play for him. Michael Jordan going to the Wizards. you can't carry them, you still require the rest of the team. The same thing applies to something like League of Legends or something like that. So it has that teamwork aspect. But regardless, like I find it really weird to turn around and say, "Oh, I'd be anti them going into the Olympic Games." Why? Like, because all that's going to do, they're not okay. So you're not taking the place of a marathon runner. Right, you're not sitting there and going, by playing this game, I'm taking the place of a marathon runner.
James, it's like gay marriage. It discredits everyone else. It discredits.
But here, if we really want to go into
by the way, you can obviously see the cynicism and sarcasm.
Yeah, but if you really want to go into that, one of the first Olympic events, and I believe I'm right, in the original Olympic events, was poetry.
Oh, was it?
Yes. So, like, Olympic events weren't. The point of the Olympics has now become sport, but the point of the Olympics weren't that it was the pinnacle of sport. That wasn't the point of the Olympics.
Physical,
the point of the Olympics was it was the pinnacle of endeavors, the pinnacle of whatever. So I have no problem with it. The other thing is I can see how it's a massive win-win for the Olympics. So if you included eSports within the Olympics or certain, I mean, you'd have to look at what those were, whether it was like specific games, how you'd go about saying, okay, you're an Olympic athlete for your country in eSports. There are some technical things to work out there, but it would turn a whole new audience to the Olympics, and quite a massive audience. And eSports has proved that you can take something that people had no idea could ever be monetized on the kind of scale that it is, and turn them from underground kind of community competitions and tournaments, just to kind of be like, where, first prize winner gets like $5,000 because everybody chipped in and did this, to where, now major esports teams and things like that have sponsorship with all sorts of like tech companies, sportswear companies, all of that sort of stuff, where they can earn millions a year, through prize money in various tournaments and all of those kinds of things. It is an incredibly interesting watch. They're quite often incredibly, like, if you've ever watched documentaries on esports and stuff like that, there's all sorts of wonderful stuff about, like, dodgy stuff that happened within teams, and it's an incredibly fascinating area. I just think it's so dismissive to kind of, it's that whole attitude of, it's video games that they're played by teenagers in their basements.
I think quite often it's people who are a bit older, maybe. No, and actually, no, I'm not going to say that. Sorry, I said a bit older. I'm going to take that back, because I know plenty of older people who are actually really with the times and who are actually quite progressive and actually know their shit. So it's wrong of me, and I've got to stop doing that. And I think
to automatically assume that
assume just because they're older doesn't mean they're with current times or understand current trends or video games or anything like that. Because quite often some of the oldest among us are actually the most, they're very active in following what's going on. Yeah. And so what I mean to say is those who are ignorant tend to be people who, knew about video games maybe 10, 20 years ago, or even 30, 40 years ago, back with the arcades. What I would say, though, is events in the Olympics are things like be the fastest to run a certain distance and cross a line.
Yep.
How is that any less stupid than a video game?
Absolutely.
No, in terms of
absolutely.
No, think about it. Like, a competition is how fast can someone
I can run for longer or faster than you can.
I know. Like, how was
my dad's bigger than your dad. And
not to diminish. I know, not to diminish the accomplishments of people who achieve this, because it's fantastic. But how is that any more?
We play football.
Important than.
But we pay football players hundreds of millions of dollars to kick a ball around.
Exactly.
And watch them kick a ball around.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Are you telling me that some honourable achievement? Like, I can guarantee you, if New Zealand, this is my call of the night, if New Zealand wasn't overachieving so much in sports, then this wouldn't be such a popular opinion in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So if New Zealand weren't punching above their weight in sports as much as they do, this wouldn't be as big a thing. Like, people wouldn't fears about it. It's because New Zealand, a small country, tend to punch above their weight in sports, so therefore we have this complex about it. And a lot of people do have a complex about it.
But the other thing is that I said
Hillary Barry has a complex about it.
I would argue as well, and here's my other argument for it. I would argue that esports differentiates itself anyway by calling itself esports. They don't call themselves sports. They call themselves esports.
Yeah.
Secondly, if it's not sports, then why are these tournaments and things quite often streamed on sporting channels,
ESPN,
like ESPN and that sort of stuff? Like are jumping on board with this. If you again want to go down that channel, I would argue that esports is far more egalitarian than sport. So sport has got to the point, like if you want to look at gymnastics, let's take gymnastics for example. Gymnastics takes an incredible amount of dedication, takes an incredible amount of work, everything else like that. I'm not arguing that at all. However, there's a physical aspect to it. And what I mean by the physical aspect is that it's like being a ballet dancer. You have to grow into the right shape.
Yeah.
You're not going to be, you can't be a 6'5" gymnast.
No. So genetics plays a role.
You can't. You have to be built in a certain way. All of those kind of things. Playing basketball, you're not going to be a 5'4" basketball player. Doesn't matter how much you love the sport, how much you put into it, how much practice. At the end of the day, the thing that's going to stop you from competing at that top level is going to be your height.
Yeah.
If you want to be a sprinter, you have to generally have long limbs, very powerful legs, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, shot putters, whatever sport you want to pick, of those traditional sport areas require a certain level of genetic blessing in order to do them. Yeah, not everybody's going to be able to do them, no matter how much you want it, no matter how much you try. Look, I am a relatively slight man. It's not going to matter how much I go to the gym and pump iron. I'm never going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So realistically, I could never play rugby in New Zealand at a top level. Now that wouldn't matter how much I trained, how much I did, whatever. The physicality of it is going to hinder me.
Yeah.
Right. I would argue that esports is way more egalitarian than that because anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it. If you put in the work and the dedication, and I'm not saying that there isn't, because there's a hell of a lot of work that goes into it. People who just think that these people pick up a controller and all of a sudden they're earning millions of dollars, that's not what happens. There's a hell of a lot of work that goes into it to be a truly world-class gamer. To be a true pro gamer. I know we're pro gamers to all of our people who watch our streams. We are pro gamers.
We are.
But to be a true professional gamer, somebody who... There's a hell of a lot of work.
There is.
That goes into it. And a hell of a lot of dedication, a hell of a lot of practice, a hell of a lot of skill that goes into that. But I would argue that if you put in equal time, you put in equal effort, you put in whatever, you could compete at that level. And I think 100%. That's way more egalitarian.
100%.
Which is far more along the lines of the Olympics than...
Absolutely. And not to mention the monetary aspect. I mean, like, if we're talking about sports, and it doesn't have to necessarily be Olympics, but sports in general. I mean, racing's a sport.
Yep.
What about the Formula One? So in order to really invest yourself and to become a Formula One racer, you have to be as a teenager or a child, you have to be a kart racer, which involves tens of thousands of dollars. Exactly. You need to have a huge monetary...
Equestrian is the same.
Yep. Equestrian, all those kind of sports. So it's either going to be physical or monetary and political. A lot of the time it's political. So, I mean, there are so many aspects to these Olympic sports. And for you to, for people to get on their high horse, to go, these sports are so, to talk about them like there's something so pure and like, it's the pure, display of strength and character. No, it isn't. There are so many different aspects of it. And for you to dismiss something like esports
and generally
at the expense of...
Generally, you can't dope to cheat to win.
That's right. That's very true.
And if you want to go on about how sports, promote, what do you call it, integrity and all of that kind of crap, just look at all the amount of people that have cheated to win in sports. Or just look at, how wonderful some of the previous characters that we've had in sports and things like that have been to people and all of that sort of stuff. So, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm ragging on sports because I think sport has a place.
No, 100%.
But it is not this
Our argument isn't that sports is bad.
But it's not this pinnacle of creation that for some
No.
reason we seem to think it is.
No.
It really isn't.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I would argue that, look, I would far rather watch, what do you call it, eSports at the Olympics as part of the Olympic coverage than I would watch sailing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah,
100% honestly.
Yeah,
Don't really care. Like I find sailing boring, and I'm not saying, look, if you're into sailing, go nuts. But I'd rather watch esports, and I guarantee you that there are a lot of young people out there that would also rather watch esports. And for all of you naysayers that turn around to me and say, oh well, you know, that means young kids won't want to grow up and do sport and all of that sort of stuff. Rubbish.
Yeah.
People will still go out. People will still go out and kick a football around the backyard. And they'll still go out and play with their mates.
They'll still do it because their parents will make them.
Yep. And because that's where,
I mean,
and because that's where all the money in our country goes.
Yep.
It's pushing people into sport.
It is.
And so they will still be out there on a Saturday morning.
It is.
Governmentally sponsored.
Yep.
And, you know, Old Boys Network sponsored.
They
with
will be.
everybody out there,
Yep.
you know, playing their sport, throwing their football
If you know the
around.
decile number of your school, you also know how much sports gets bumped into it. And how important it is compared to academic achievement.
Yep. Or artistic achievement.
Or artistic achievement, yeah.
Yep. Which is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
We got sidetracked, but...
We did. But esports in the Olympics.
Sports bad, esports good. No, just kidding.
No.
Just kidding. It's way
And
more
it's not,
complicated,
look, and it's not as...
It's not
as,
one's good and one's bad.
Yeah,
it's
and
that maybe don't treat...
No, but I think we have to have a legitimate conversation about that.
We do. Yeah,
like,
we do.
And we have to have a legitimate conversation about where does... I mean, esports is a massive, massive thing, and it is not going away. It is not a group of basement dwellers who are streaming stuff on dark sites online. These are things that are played by athletes in, you know, stadiums over days in front of crowds of hundreds of thousands of people and millions of people around the world. These are tournaments that are played for millions and millions of dollars, not only in the prize money, but in the sponsorship and stuff like that. Esports is here, and it is not going away. And, you know, we need to, you know, as much as you can be old man yells at clouds about it, and, these youngsters and their, you know,
and their Nintendos.
And their Nintendos. It's here, and it's here to stay.
The future is now, old man.
We need to have, you know, legitimate conversations about where those belong and how those kinds of endeavors and those sorts of things fit within our society. And all you end up doing, I think, is alienating a big chunk of your society if you start saying what you do means nothing.
Yeah, because who determines what means something?
Absolutely.
At one point in the late 1800s, someone determined, or mid 1800s, determined that kicking a ball around a field meant something.
But I mean, here's the thing, right? Is I sit there and I go, you could badly. There's a wonderful Reddit subreddit about badly explain your job to somebody.
Oh yeah.
And I love it because it breaks down all the pretense of what we do. And I'm not saying that, like, what do you call it, that things that we do aren't important. But at the end of the day, we only think that it derives meaning because we say it means something. Yeah. So, like, you know, like, I mean, as an actor, you can sit there and go, they're wonderful, they're so skilled. Legitimately, they go and play pretend and get paid to do it. Yeah. Like, you know, sports people, you know, play a game that we go out into a field and kick around with our mates and get paid to do it. Esports people play games that they would play with their friends or whatever and get paid to do it. It's, you know, let's stop pretending that some things inherently have more value than others. They don't from that point of view.
No, they don't. Right,
so moving on into Uncanny Valley. So Uncanny Valley this week, this actually comes out of a conversation that I was having with some of my students and actually bizarrely through Avenue Q. And we were talking about language and, you know, the importance of language and interesting stuff about language. And we were talking about words that have no direct translation into English. So there are words in other languages that describe something that we just don't have a word for. Like, we could try and describe it, but we don't have a word that means this particular thing. So I've got a few here, and I apologize because I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of some of these. So I apologize in advance because I'm reading these from the words with no phonetic translation. So I'm sort of just trying to make up what I think those words would sound like in their native language. So I'm really sorry if I butcher these words. But we'll give it a go. So what we're going to do is we'll start with one that's reasonably easy, because I think you're going to know this one. We start with one that's relatively easy and relatively sort of ubiquitous. But I want you to sort of guess what you think the word might mean, okay? So the first one we're going to use is Schadenfreude, obviously from the German, Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
So Schadenfreude. I'm pretty sure you probably know what Schadenfreude means.
Yeah, I've used this word before. So this is to take pleasure at other people's misfortune.
Yeah. So it is a German word literally meaning to a feeling of enjoyment from seeing or hearing about the troubles of other people. So
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude, yeah. There's a whole song about it in Avenue Q. Schadenfreude.
Oh, is it?
Yes. So the second one we're going to go to. So well done. You're 1 from 1.
All right,
So we're going to go for another German word.
I won't get any
Funny. No, you won't.
These are silly.
Yeah.
These are,
So actually, we had a little bit of a chat about this before when I was pitching the segment, and to give you a clue, most of these words describe a feeling or like a specific state of being, and that's something that we're not so good at in English. Like we can describe stuff or describe a feeling, but we don't have words that link directly to a specific type of feeling in lots of cases. We go for very broad strokes like nostalgia or love or I love this or I hate this.
It's not a very romantic language.
Yeah.
It's
Whereas some of these languages have specific words for specific feelings to do so. So the next one is Fernweh, Fernweh. Fernweh.
Goodness me, no, I don't know that one.
So it is the feeling you get of homesickness for a place you've never been to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we have in English, I think the closest that we would have would be like wanderlust, which is like wanting to go somewhere that you've never been.
I love how you say in English, but it's not an English word.
Yeah. I know. It's amazing, isn't it? It's one of those ones we also stole from the Germans.
Yeah.
But like, that idea of wanting to go somewhere you've never been before. But this is feeling homesick for somewhere you've never been before.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Instagram lights up like
The
Instagram of every friggin' person everywhere.
Hashtag. Yeah. All right.
Thoughts.
Sobremesa, which is Spanish. Sobremesa. Go on. Give me a guess about what you think sobremesa means.
The word sober is the word sober have anything to do with it?
Potentially.
So you're emotionally cold. You're cold on something that hasn't happened, or you're upset about something that hasn't happened.
Okay, I like that guess. That's not what it means.
Okay.
It is that moment after eating a meal when the food is gone, but the conversation is still flowing around the table.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I like
that whole moment when you're sitting there and you're just feeling, you're feeling sobremesa.
Yeah. Oh,
wow. Here's one we all experience every day. Treppenwitz, which again is German, Treppenwitz, Treppenwitz. So it's something that you will definitely have experienced.
Treppenwitz.
And it's something to do with feeling something after something has happened.
It doesn't have something to do with trepidation, does it? No.
After something has happened and you're like...
After something has happened.
God
the
damn it.
feeling of missing out on an opportunity that you know that you should have banked on.
You're very close.
Oh,
You're
okay.
very close. It's the moment when we think of the perfect comeback after the chance to actually use the comeback.
Those moments when you're in the shower,
yeah,
or you're lying in bed at night, and then you go, I wish
Treppenwitz.
Yeah.
So Treppenwitz essentially means a clever remark that comes to mind when it's too late to say it. Is it Treppenwitz?
I like that.
Oh my god. This is going to twist my tongue in terms of pronunciation. Backpfeifen Gescheit? Backpfeifen Gescheit.
These
McPfeffengesheit.
Germans, man.
BACKPFEIFENGESICHT.
We should be asking our resident German.
Backpfeffengesheit, I think, is how it's pronounced. This is, again, something you will have experienced. And I'm going to give you a clue and say you're annoyed at this particular period in time.
It's the feeling that you get when you're so frustrated that someone could be so stupid.
Kind of. Backpfeffengesheit is when you look at somebody and get so annoyed that you just want to punch them in the face.
Nice.
You are Backpfeffengesheit. Yeah.
I wish I knew how to say
They have a punchable face.
That's
I love that one. Let's find another interesting one. Here's a good one. Bakushan, which is Japanese. Bakushan. Okay. And the first part of it sounds a little bit like what it's referring to. Bakushan. It's when you see something attractive. I'll give you that far.
Is it when you see something attractive, but then you suddenly realize that it's not as attractive as you once thought?
That's very close.
Oh, I'm always getting close.
It's a Japanese word that is a beautiful girl as long as she's being viewed from behind.
Oh my god! Oh wow! Goodness,
I love that one.
It's probably a good thing these words aren't available in English.
I really like this word. It's Yujin. Again, Japanese.
Yujin. I don't know. Do you have a clue?
Yeah. Something that you might do at night when you're looking at the sky. This is something I feel whenever I look at the sky at night and look at the stars.
It's when you feel a sense of how insignificant we are in the universe.
Kind of. It means a profound, mysterious sense of the beauty of the universe.
Oh, I like that. I really like that.
I think that's
I
think that's a really, really cool word.
That is. That's neat.
Again, now this is Danish, so I'm going to butcher how to say this. So it's Hygge, Hygge, Hygge. We've had this before, Hygge.
Hygge? Yeah.
It happens in a company of people.
Is it when everyone laughs at the same time? Or...
It's relaxing with a few friends and loved ones while having a meal or some drinks.
Oh, nice. Yep, that's nice.
Fizzling, German. Fisselig, Fizzling. You are. You will have. I don't know that you'll have experienced this, but you can certainly make other people feel Fizzling when you're going at them all the time.
Is it when you make someone feel, I don't know, uncomfortable or...
Now go even further.
No, I don't know.
Fizzling means to be flustered to the point of incompetence.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
wow,
you flustered somebody, so much that they're just. So I'm going to give you one more. Last one, Japanese one. Tsundoku. So Tsundoku, we've definitely done this. It has something to do with books.
Is it either when you start a book and you get lost in it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it when you start a book but you don't finish it and you mean to finish it?
The second one is closer. So
when you start a book and you never finish it.
you're getting warmer. So Santoku is leaving a new book unread after buying it and just letting it pile up with the other unread lonely books in your house.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is. It's like
It's
this
so
idea
sad.
that books have this
It's like a book,
life and meaning, which I think is kind of cool.
It is cool.
So-
I like
so
that. That's really
Santoku,
neat. There's some
like,
neat words in there.
Yeah. So all of these interesting words that have like really connected like senses of emotional connotation with them. You know, like the idea of that moment of satisfaction. And again, we're reaching for words here, how to describe them in English, that moment of satisfaction that you have and contentment sitting around with friends after a meal and you're having a conversation, like, you know, that feeling of warmth, which is contentment,
true
satisfaction,
it's
all of those things rolled into one, and I think sometimes in English we're very poor at describing how we feel about something.
It's very clinical and it's very awkward sometimes, and it doesn't. And I mean, those words are so specific.
Yeah,
we lack specific sort of, which is why whenever words get added to the dictionary and sort of purists go, "Oh, that's a stupid word into the dictionary." Well, it's like, goodness me, we could do with more words.
We could.
What's wrong with more language and more colourful and warm and?
I love it.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Let's do some 30-second waffles.
Let's do it.
So I think I'm first this week because I made you go first last time.
Yes, 100%. Oh, we've got a couple
I
in
remember
here.
that. Yeah, we've got a few. Producer Caroline's been adding to them.
Nice.
So we've got a few to choose from.
All right.
Right, so Producer Caroline is just getting her timer up and ready. So I'll start reading the question because with Producer Caroline's handwriting, it'll take me 20 minutes to work out what the question is. So this one's from Ted Star. Okay. Oh my god. This actually ties quite nicely to what we've just been talking about. Why music and drama are a far inferior source of entertainment, and the only true entertainment comes from watching sport. Okay, so it's almost like this one was pre-planned. I swear it wasn't, but it's pre-planned. Okay, sport is the only true form of entertainment because it pits the absolute essence of what it means to be a human being against somebody else's absolute pinnacle of being a human being. At the end of the day, music and drama are just people dressing up and playing pretend. That's all it is. Music, I mean, for God's sake, it's just a series of noise that you sit and listen to, one thing after the other. Sport is where it's at 100% of the time.
Wow, good. I mean, well done.
So, like, it's not true.
I know.
I have no time to go into why all those things.
It's funny because like
true,
we're the whole episode we've sort of been bagging on sports, but we both love sports. That's the crazy thing. Like, I love sports. I'm going to be playing sports tomorrow.
Yeah.
I play sports.
All of the sports.
I'm actively involved in sports.
Every single sport.
For multiple teams.
Yeah.
I love sports.
Yeah. Every single sports.
Yeah, every single sports.
Yeah. Multiple sports.
I'm giving up a lot of my free time for sports.
Right. Okay. Let's see what you get.
This is from Instagram from someone Crawford. I can't make out that. Adia Crawford. Adia Crawford.
These questions are getting horrible.
Okay. Why Jenna Marbles is the best YouTuber in the world?
Ooh, that's
no.
Okay.
I'm laughing.
It's
interesting.
This okay.
Okay.
I'm interested to hear your answer. Yeah.
Jenna Marbles is the best YouTuber in the world. I think because she has maintained her pureness and her personality and integrity through her many, many, many years of YouTube. And I think there's something to be said for not selling out or for not, she's not going with trends like, say, PewDiePie, who's completely molded his content. Jenna Marbles is Jenna Marbles, and she's the same Jenna Marbles, for good or for bad, that she's been since the very beginning, and I respect her for that. And I actually think that she's really funny, and she likes her pets, which is great.
Awesome. So that was a very good answer. So who do you think is the best YouTuber?
Jorgen's pretty funny.
That's a hard question because it also depends on where you're at the time and
It does. I tend to YouTubing and being popular at YouTube. This is a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. I tend to think is I think YouTube's a terrible system.
Yeah.
And actually, the best people at the job don't get recognized or never come to your attention because of the way that these algorithms work. But I really like Drew Gooden.
Okay.
I think Drew Gooden's really funny. There's something about him that I just really connect with. We've started watching a lot of him recently. I just find him really clever and genuine and just funny. Like, because I think his sense of humor really connects with me. I think he has a very similar sort of like. There's something about his temperament that I really connect with, and I struggle with YouTube culture. I struggle with the narcissism of it. I struggle with it's a pretty disposable,
toxic.
It's very disposable. I wish like I tend to be I tend to be more for. I'm more for story driven and YouTube's very disposable and a lot of the content's very disposable. It's it's not a refined thing. It's I'm setting up a camera and talking.
I like me some Shane Dawson, but
I like Shane Dawson as well. I like Shane Dawson.
I'm gonna say probably my favorite YouTubers are Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd. The guys that do like epic rap battles of history and all of that sort of stuff. I think they're pretty cool.
Well, it's been a long time since I've listened to them.
They're my go-to.
They're good.
They're my go-to.
Yeah. Shane Dawson I like, but also I like him when he's less serious. Mm-hmm. And I like him when he's with the Spooky Boys. I love Spooky Boys, man. Bring back Spooky Boys. But again, that's a bygone era. Shane Dawson taking himself less seriously and the funny stuff like the edits and things. But
all right, cool. Next up.
All right, is it
Matt? You got to give me one. Where are we going?
Sorry,
That was sports right there.
It was sports.
Did you see?
For those who are listening and not watching, that was me.
Oh, you should have seen the fast Twitch reactions right there.
I was so on.
This is a Discord one from Esoterica Superfan. Why those who do not wish to undergo the high school experience should have the opportunity to drop out after year 8. Okay, so we're going for you should be able to finish high school or not even start high school. It is a well-known fact. It's a well-known fact even among the education fraternity that high school isn't for everybody, and mainstreaming high school isn't for everybody. Nor should high school be for everybody. High school is essentially a 5-year university entrance exam. You have no real reason to go unless that is what you're going to do. There are far more beneficial things that you could be doing with your time. Like apprenticing into jobs, or those kinds of things. My 30 seconds are up. I sort of...
Damn, James spilling some tea there.
Weirdly, I vaguely agree with this and vaguely disagree with this. So I think that at year 8 you are not in a position to actually make an informed decision for yourself about whether high school is good or not for you. And I think you would have to be very, very careful about suddenly going, you know what, I don't need this higher education because that's not what I'm going to do. I think that certainly I don't think that you should be kept in high school all the way till year 13. And to a certain extent, I mean, again, this is kind of a conversation for another day. Like, society actively tries to maintain you or keep you in school. What do you call it? Schools are judged on retention rates of students, that sort of stuff. So, like, they try to keep you longer, all of that sort of stuff. But leaving age for school is still 16, I think. You can leave school and go and do other things because we kind of go at that point. You can transition. The only thing I would say about staying in high school is don't get yourself into a position in your life where it might not be what you want to do at 14. Don't get yourself into a position in life where you want to transition into another career or do something later on in your life and you can't do it because you don't have a piece of paper that says you can do it.
Yeah.
And that would be the biggest thing about high school. And I know, like, at 13, 5 years seems like a really, really long time. But I promise you, in the grand context of your life, it isn't.
Yeah,
it
100%.
really is a very, very small part of your time. But again, I also understand that high school isn't for everyone.
No.
And it isn't necessarily beneficial for everyone. But I would say it's probably vastly more beneficial for the majority than it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than it is negative for people.
100%.
Right, okay.
That's a good answer.
Last one. Let's see how we go. Yeah, upstage hand, mate. You told me that I got told off by and the director for using my downstage hand.
That was my bad. Here we go. So this is from this is from Tom. This is from Heisenberg. Mac. This is from Thomas. I just know it's Tom because I'm 2 words in and already there's a bracketed fucking assign. Yep. Okay. Why games, open bracket, such as Skyrim, close bracket, are superior to regular games by being released incomplete and fixed up?
So basically, why does Bethesda exist?
Fallout 76.
Yeah.
Why? What's the question again? Oh, so games such as Skyrim. So, okay.
Incomplete games are better.
Incomplete games are better because they leave a capacity for growth that no other game does. They're basically a beta test for every other game. So, in beta, you can find out what people truly want or truly need. And if you release a game incomplete, you find out what the main points that people want are so that you can release a truly great game in the future via updates based on consumer feedback. So basically, what I mean, Tom knows this is something that irks me because it's something that I've been angry at him about. Not at him, but I've been ranting
him
about.
Personally. Poor Tom's been like, you know,
it's his fault, but he's been in a conversation when I've been ranting about it. But obviously
broken products
that aren't finished, because in the past, if you released a broken game, that was it.
Yeah,
like you couldn't do anything about it. You know, on PlayStation 2 or PS1 or any SNES or whatever, you couldn't update it to fix it. But now in the modern age, you can. And essentially, what companies are doing is they're foregoing their quality QA teams. The money that's spent on them
just to drop it out into the market.
Drop it out into the market and using the market as a beta test and then updating it later because, they can get away with it based on, one day hype or whatever. So, and that was a big problem. The good news is that the internet and gamers are getting a lot cleverer. Like, people aren't pre-ordering as much as they used to. People in the past used to pre-order a lot. Now they don't unless it's a trusted developer.
But they've also killed this idea of pre-ordering because if you are going to sell your games in a digital market space, there's no limited quantity.
Yeah,
so the whole purpose of pre-ordering was that there was limited stocks of games shipped out to areas that you were in, and so unless you booked your copy of it, you might miss out until like second shipment, whatever. But now with the digital market space, there's nowhere near kind of the incentive to pre-order. And even with like pre-order exclusives, quite often they're made available as DLCs later on anyway.
Things like, who gives a shit? Like
cosmetic stuff.
Cosmetic, like, oh, you get a hat. Like, who cares about it? I mean, sorry, Team Fortress. But like, like, you get a costume. It's like, oh, wow, I'm going to spend an extra $20-$40 on that.
Realistically, they're going to then monetize it later on and go for $3. You can buy that hat. Like,
who cares?
It's not that. However, I'm going to make a weird salvo here in terms of defense of broken games. I would prefer to see a slightly broken Bethesda game like Skyrim, right? I'd prefer to see that than not see Skyrim. Does that make sense? So if the line is, and this is the only time whenever I will accept a slightly broken game, if the line is that either you get it in this slightly broken state and we will patch it, or you don't get the game, like it's going to become a cancelled game. You'll never see that game. I'd prefer to get the game and have it patched.
Oh yeah.
However,
but I mean, that scenario doesn't.
No, but however, you understand that whenever you get a game, and gamers understand this, whenever you get a game, it might not be perfect. It might be something
It'll
in there.
never be perfect.
No, yeah, something in there that the dev teams and the QA teams and stuff like that,
they missed it.
after hundreds and thousands of hours of trying to break the game, haven't come across this particular bug that all of a sudden at worst is a game breaking bug.
Yeah.
Or otherwise it's just a bit funny and it's a reboot sort of thing. You understand that, and I understand that, and gamers understand that. When you're releasing games that are like just so broken, and Fallout 76 is a prime example of that, that are just so broken from the moment that they're put out that they don't play anywhere near how you'd expect them to. NPCs are horrific, like not that they're NPCs, but enemy characters, things like that are horrific, don't function, the whole game is broken. Like, that is just laziness, and that's just exactly as you said, releasing a game in its better state and using the marketplace to justify actually making the game work.
Yeah,
like that's
crazy.
That's stupid. And Bethesda have copped so much flack over it.
Deservedly so.
And I mean, they took one of, sort of the most cherished properties, like in Fallout, and just absolutely run it into the ground. And I think that, and again, it's not even that Bethesda can get away with saying, oh, look, we've delivered, sound quality products over and over again, and this was the one time we fucked up, and it's a broken game. Even hardcore Bethesda fans will turn around and say to you, their games are always buggy as hell. And there's always stuff like Skyrim's an example, Fallout 4 is an example, Fallout 76 is an example of games that are released that there are always a couple of days later clips on YouTube of really stupid stuff happening within the game. Yeah. People have managed to break the game that quickly, that easily. What I don't understand is where you've got other developers pushing out such high quality work. Look at the guys that did God of War, or CD Projekt Red with Witcher.
The Witcher, yeah.
Those sorts of things that are such high quality games, incredible games. Where other developers are saying, oh well, we can't do that due to technological limitations, blah 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 blah, and yet these developers can push out seamless open world games that function incredibly well. Naughty Dog with Uncharted. All of that kind of stuff. There's no excuse, other than corporate hack to push
quite often it does come down to the publishers rushing the game out, or the developers are going, we need more time, and the publishers going, no, we have to meet that Christmas market. So they go, challenge everything. Or Activision or whatever.
Do you remember the time when EA being on something, EA Sports, it's in the game, was like a hallmark of quality? You'd be like an EA game was you'd be like, okay, pick up an EA Sports game, it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be.
I remember FIFA 97.
Yeah.
And being like, this is gonna be rad.
Yeah.
And
now you're not.
Yeah, and SSX, the SSX series, SSX 3 and SSX Tricky. And,
but any of their sports.
And Burnout 3
any of their sports stuff, they were great publishers,
yeah.
and now they're horrific publishers.
They're bad,
horrific publishers.
Not good. Activision, and I remember before EA were the bad guys, Activision were.
Yeah.
They were the bad ones with Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
But it's sort of done a bit of a flip now.
Nah, broken games. Nah, no reason to have them.
Broken games, bad.
Yeah.
Not broken games, good.
But the other thing is if you're somebody that plays offline, you don't have an internet connection or whatever, or you don't within your data plan,
exactly.
you don't have the capability to download an 18 gig patch or something like that for your game. You've essentially bought a product that's broken, that's useless, doesn't say what it's going to do on the box. And developers are real shady about that. Like, they're real shady. Some really shady practices at the moment in video gaming.
Pull your heads in, guys.
Yeah, at least we should hopefully be getting rid of loot boxes soon. Hopefully people are going to make loot boxes,
the laws, because we can count on politicians to understand
gaming.
games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, cool. Thank you for joining us here on a fortnightly podcast.
Yes.
Come across
Sponsored by Fortnite.
Sponsored by Fortnite. That'd be great,
The
wouldn't
video
it?
game.
Some sweet Fortnite money.
Yeah. What is it? Epic Games or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say come and join us on the Sunday stream, but by the time this goes out, the Sunday stream will be done. So you'll have seen Anthony do Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft. Yes, I'm playing.
Which you're doing on Sunday.
Minecraft.
So join us on Wednesday for We're Back to Detroit Become Human, and find out how that's going for us. It's very, very different.
It's great.
I'm
really great.
loving seeing it.
For people who don't actually like or don't think they like video games very much, Detroit Become Humans very much a cinematic experience. It's pretty much a movie game. So where we make the choices that dictates the movie. The production quality is incredibly high. The graphics are incredible. It's like watching a very, very high quality animated film set in a dystopian future. It's fantastic. I recommend.
If you are somebody that watches our podcast and doesn't understand why people watch streams, come and see our Wednesday night stream of Detroit Become Human.
100%. Yeah.
There's something in there for everyone.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think you'll really enjoy it. So head over to
very,
Twitch
very
and join us there for that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll be doing some stream, and I don't know what it's going to be yet.
Mystery box
stream.
Fantastic.
Awesome, but thank you. Have a fantastic...
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No answers.
No.
Thank you.
No. Thank you.
No.
Have a fantastic week. Look after yourselves. Keep yourselves safe. Come and join us in the Discord. Come and join us on the streams. Check out all the links below. And we'll see you on the interwebs.
Don't keep yourself safe. Throw yourself out there. Be bold. Do not go quietly out into that dark night.
Oh, now, yeah. Do not go quietly into the dark. Yeah. Beautiful. That was poetic.
Speaking of dark nights, we're about to go to bed. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah.
You gonna go to sleep?
I'm gonna go sleep.
We're all gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, we've got our little night robes and nightcaps to put on. Our Esoterica nightcaps.
I put on my wizard robe.
Yeah, I go to sleep. Yeah. Thank you.
Cheers.